Political analyst and lecturer at Istanbul Aydin University. So great to have you with us. We appreciate your time today. Expectations are low with these talks in Russia. I want to get your thoughts on this. How optimistic are you that real progress can be made here in Sochi?
Well, Jonathan, everybody in the region is cautiously optimistic. We know that now the main powers in the region, particularly the United States and Russia, were deeply involved. And when it comes to the Syrian cause, if Russia has the political willing to end the ongoing conflict, it can. But it seems that for the different parties involved, they do lack the trust in the Russian initiatives, as most of the opposition parties are not participating, particularly those who are close to Turkey. This indicates that they do not believe that the Russians are genuinely interested in ending the ongoing conflict, because the Russians insist that Assad stays in any political transition, and that would constitute a major obstacle in front of any kind of political solution on the ground, where the Assad sees that the opposition is not one color. They do have major problems between themselves. They're not all on the same page when it comes to going to Sochi. The Kurds and the Americans, on the other hand, are not participating. These kind of conferences are not having the blessings of the NATO, Europe, France, and the United States on the other hand. So everybody is cautiously optimistic about many major inroads expected in these kind of conferences, particularly in Sochi.
And so, as we've mentioned that the UN Security Council also holding these closed-door meetings to discuss Syria, what kind of bearing do you think that these discussions might have on bringing peace to that war-torn country?
Everybody was optimistic, Jonathan, about the UN Security Council resolutions in Geneva communique, where everybody, including the opposition, did have a major hope that this is going to achieve something on the ground. But unfortunately, what happens on the ground is contradicting what's the resolutions that may come out from these kind of sessions. Now, on the ground, you have Eastern Ghouta, as you've alluded in the introduction, the discussion before my interview, that the conditions, the humanitarian conditions, are in dire situation in there. The people are waiting for any kind of humanitarian aid in convoys coming by the United Nations, but they were not able to do. They were even inaction. The inaction manifested by their inability to criminalize the one who used the chemical attacks in different parts of Syria. So the United Nations, because of the major powers like Russia and the United States will use the veto eventually, do not have a major leverage on the ground to take any part of creating or finding any political transition in Syria. That would conclude to the finding that we don't have too much hope in any kind of sessions because they do not have leverage on the ground.
Yeah, we've seen these talks fail time and time again as that war continues to drag on. Okay, Mr. Ahmed Al-Barai in Istanbul, thank you so much for